Hey friends, thanks for joining me, Jim Baroud, to hear a few insights from leaders who represent our innovation ecosystem. Today's chat is with Lou Kerner, a partner at Blockchain Coinvestors, a crypto fund of fund invested in 40 of the leading crypto VCs around the world. He is also the founder of Crypto Mondays, which now has 77 chapters around the world and over 30,000 members. Happy to be here with Lou. Lou has an amazing story. He's one of the leaders in the crypto and Web3 sectors, and I wanted to make sure we got some understanding about the state of crypto and Web3 now and going into the future. So with that, talk to us about your career, your impressive career, Lou.
Sure. I've actually felt like I've bounced around maybe more than I should have. But the first meaningful part of my career was as an equity analyst on Wall Street during the 90s. I followed cable and satellite stocks, first starting at Oppenheimer, then Merrill Lynch, my last 4 years at Goldman Sachs. It was an exciting time to be an analyst. We were at the top of the food chain for a brief few minutes. I, though, having followed cable companies, one of the macro things that I learned was it's good to be a monopoly. And when the internet was going wild, I was looking for an internet monopoly. One day, Bill Gross from Idea Lab called me and offered me to be CEO of the top-level domain .tv that he had acquired from the island nation of Tuvalu. And so I did that for 2 years. It was, a rocket ship ride for the first year. And then not crypto winter, but internet winter was set in, and at the low point we had to let go of 40% of the company, and that was a difficult period. But we eventually had a nice win, got sold to VeriSign. I then ran an early social network called Bolt, grew it from 500,000 kids to 23 million kids over 3 years before MySpace flew by us. Did 8 acquisitions, and really that's when I really started thinking deeply about community and how do you engage a community, how do you incentivize a community, and those are things obviously that have now become incredibly important. After that, I just angel invested. Somebody offered to sell me some Facebook shares in 2009. I'd actually been the first person to call Mark and offer to buy the company a month after he launched, and I'd been an equity analyst and run a social network, so I thought I was probably smart as anybody to actually understand how much it was worth. It was actively traded at $16 billion. I ran the numbers, was shocked to find I thought it was worth $50 billion. So I bought as much as I could and felt compelled to write my first Wall Street style research report in 10 years, and I published it on Tumblr March of 2010, put in a $50 billion price target on it at that time and saying that it would grow to $100 billion in the next 5 years. Somebody who read that a year later offered to raise me a VC fund, and that's how I became a VC. I was a generalist VC, investing in and around community in things like Meetup. And after a couple years, I turned my focus to Israel. I visited Israel in 2015 and was shocked. Was just completely blown away by the ecosystem. And as amazing as the world thought Israel was, I still thought the world had no idea. And I think that was a good call. And I was doing that, enjoying that, spending 10 days in Israel when on June 29th, 2017, I held a conference call to better understand for myself about ICOs. They were going up and to the right. I didn't quite exactly understand what was going on. I'd gone down the rabbit hole 13, 14 deep enough that the Wall Street Journal had written a story on Bitcoin, quoted me as Wall Street's Bitcoin expert. But though I looked at it for more than a year pretty intensely, I did not see it. But on June 29th, 2017, I saw the crypto light, been crypto 24/7 ever since. For the first 3 months of being 24/7 crypto, I was learning. That's all I was doing was reading and writing and reading and writing and putting together my first thought piece so I could come up with a construct of crypto. And after 3 months, and I was in a manic state for 3 months, and it wasn't until I published my first thought piece on crypto called 7 Thoughts on Crypto after 3 months down the rabbit hole that I was actually able to sleep. And I published it in October 2017. Tagged it Bitcoin. I didn't know when I published it, but Medium ranks bloggers in more than 100 different categories on how influential they are. And for 3 days, my post was the most read thing tagged Bitcoin on Medium, and after those 3 days, I was the third most influential crypto blogger in the world, according to Medium, which did two things. Number one, it made me a guy in crypto overnight, and the second, I say, is it proved my the first of my 7 thoughts on crypto after 3 months down the rabbit hole, which is that nobody knows anything. So I've been crypto 24/7 for the last 5 years. Now a partner at Blockchain Coinvestors, which is a crypto fund to fund. We're invested in 40 leading crypto VCs in the world. We'll do 20 plus one-off investments this year. And 6 months ago we IPO'd a crypto SPAC, so that's a great process of talking with dozens of CEOs of the leading crypto companies that are actually thinking of going public and thinking of SPACs as one possible route for doing that. And that's my day job, and then like everybody else in crypto, I'm involved in lots of other projects, most notably as the founder of Crypto Mondays, which is the largest crypto meetup in the world. I just came from Crypto Monday Lisbon, which was the 77th city to host Crypto Mondays, and I spend about 60% of my time going from Crypto Mondays to Crypto Mondays, spreading the gospel.
So 77 chapters, I know you don't know the exact numbers, but how many people does that touch?
Over 30,000 members around the world, and it'll be over 40,000 definitely by the end of the year. It's growing really rapidly.
That is amazing. Okay, so we're at the end of May 2022. We just had some gyrations in the market, let's say. Tell us about the state of crypto, and then let's talk about Web3 as well.
Sure. So, I take a long-term view. I mentioned I'd put a price target on Facebook, and that was the first report I'd written in 10 years. And I actually took another 10 years to put out a price target on something, and that's Bitcoin. In January of 2010, I put a $1 million price target on Bitcoin that I get there via math in 2031. And obviously I don't have a crystal ball, and maybe it won't be a million, but if it is a million or more, I'm pretty sure I know exactly how it's going to get there. It's going to go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. But if it's more than a million in 2031, to me, all of that up and down is just noise. So, for me, just like the internet has been doing this for 30 years, literally, right? While the internet usage has been doing that for 30 years, right? The internet stock price has gone up and down, and one of my, so I think the market is doing this, and it's going to do this for the next 30 years. Prices are going to do this.
Got it. And what about Web3?
So Web3, I think, is, for me, part of the problem of any new thing is the nomenclatures, that we use words and they mean different things to different people. And so I was using the word crypto, for the first 5 years, really, to describe. And when I use the word, I really mean two things. First, it's a series of technologies, blockchain, cryptocurrency, smart contracts, zero knowledge proof. All of these technologies, all at the same time, are enabling us to do things in ways that we could never do before. And that's the first thing. The second thing is to me, there's also an ethos of crypto. And for me, that ethos was well summed up in a book called Sacred Economics, when he writes about having felt that he grew up in a culture of greed. And, and I really feel that I was brought up in a culture of greed, and I was taught that the more I took for myself, the better. And that made a lot of sense, because I like stuff and I'm good at taking it. But it turns out that there are other cultures of generosity, cultures of giving. And that's what crypto is, and that's where I want to spend the rest of my life.
Got it. Now, you talk about community building. You've done that in the past several times. Tell us about what community means to you and to the crypto and Web3 community.
Sure. So, now, again, just to finish the thought on Web3, to me, I think the best description of Web3 is just simply that, Web 1 was about reading, Web 2 was about writing, reading and writing, and in Web 3 we read, write, and own. And that's really the biggest differential, is now we can own all of our digital assets. And I think that's super exciting. And again, the question then that you asked about Web 3.
And what about the the future of decentralization in general? We see these virtual worlds being built, and what's your take on that?
Sure. So, I said that for me, when I saw the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, what I saw was, for the first time in history, we had a tool set to solve for humanity instead of the man in the middle. And I thought that that was going to be the biggest thing to happen in the history of humanity. And I thought that a little more so every day for 4 years. And then I saw something even bigger. I saw the Metaverse. And to me, that's really the macro thing that's going on. And again, you have to define these words. So to me, Metaverse means basically, I say, like what we're doing now, I call this reality. But the moment you start looking at a screen, now you're in the Metaverse, in my view, right? This isn't the real world. This is, part of the Metaverse. And, obviously this is, you can call this mixed reality, augmented reality, and it can get more immersive and more immersive and more immersive till right you put on the Oculus Rift. And so it's just, on one hand you have reality, on the other end you have virtual reality, and everything in the mixed, augmented and mixed. And I'm pretty sure that for the rest of my life, humanity as a whole is going to be spending more time in the Metaverse, as I just described, and that time is going to be getting more immersive. And so I think that's really the biggest thing that's going on. And obviously, crypto Web3 is the massive enabling technology behind the Metaverse and behind our ability to own the different parts of the Metaverse that we'll all be a part of.
And we see some big tech players wanting to take leadership in the Metaverse. How do you think that will play out? Will it be decentralized, or will it be big tech controlling it?
Sure. So, coincidentally, about 6 months before I saw the crypto light, I started writing on what I was trying to coin the term FAMGA, for Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, the 5 biggest tech companies by a wide margin. And Facebook's fallen back a bit since then. But in that their impact of their ever-growing share of tech market cap was great for them and their shareholders, bad for the rest of humanity. And I didn't know, I didn't see any technology in January of 2000 that was going to threaten their monopoly of the internet, ever-growing monopoly of the internet. And then 6 months later, I saw the crypto light, and now I think that we're in a battle for the soul of the Metaverse between FAMGA and the community. And I think it's epically like Star Wars. And we're the Alliance and they're the Death Star. And unfortunately, most of the time, I think the Death Star wins. So I think we really have an uphill battle, and we have to solve for token economics, and we have to solve for governance and consensus. That's the biggest disappointment in my 5 years of being in 24/7 Web3, is the lack of progress we've made on those two fundamental things. And if we can't get better at those quickly, then I think the Metaverse will be owned by FAMGA. I mean, they have such massive advantages already in the capital they have, and the brilliant, massive numbers of people that they have working for them, in the fact that they have the politicians in their pocket. Right? There's a reason why there hasn't been a monopoly case against any of these companies ever. Really, I guess Microsoft had one in the 90s. That lasted how many years? So, and then by the time they broke it up, the problem had passed. But the government turns out, in any case, isn't really good at dealing with that stuff. So, I think we're in a fight for the soul of the Metaverse, and that's what I'm fighting. I say, for me personally, I don't feel responsible for the world as it is, but I do feel responsible for the world I'm leaving my kids, and so that's why I'm fighting a good fight.
Got it. Now, what about Davos? What have you learned this week? This is, I think, your first time. This is my first time. Any insights?
Well, I think the biggest insight I had at Davos is that it's not as fun as Cannes, which is where I was before I came here. Cannes was amazing. Oh my God. And tremendous amount of Web3 going on there, with companies like Beam and lots of others. Davos is obviously much different from Cannes. It's more serious. It's more corporate. A lot more suits. Although the people in Cannes were very well dressed. while there is a lot of Web3, it's still, I feel, a small part of what's going on here. And it still felt to me very much at the periphery, except for there were some awesome companies that had, real presences, like Casper, like Polygon, like Circle. So it was fun hanging out in their, promenades, which is just, fancy way of saying storefront or bar. I think interestingly, as a conference, I would say, because it's really just like a block. The whole thing, that's, when you see the same people again and again, and so you're not really running around so much, and you can actually have really deep conversations. I would say that's one of the things I like about it, is I've had a number of really deep conversations, deeper than you generally have at a conference like this, when there's a lot more places to go.
That's good to hear. Now, what about future forecasts? What do you see down the road, whether it's 2 years or 5 years, for crypto and Web3?
Sure. So, as I said, $1 million price target in 2031. I'm in a fund of funds. The pitch that I give for the fund of funds is that there were 5 trillion-dollar companies created in Web 2, and we believe that there are going to be 10 or more multi-trillion-dollar companies built in Web 3, and we're going to own them all. And so that's what we're solving for by investing in 40 of the leading crypto VCs, because we believe that nobody knows, right, where they're going to be those multi-trillion-dollar companies. It seems like Bitcoin's probably in a pretty good position. Ethereum's probably in a pretty good position. But who knows? There was a time in the late 90s when everybody thought Yahoo was the best thing ever. So things can change pretty quickly, as we all know. And so, we're at Blockchain Coinvestors, we're the largest owners of, we own more companies in Web3 pieces than anybody else, mostly indirectly through the VCs. But that's, I think, how we're going to capture, and if everything went to zero other than the 10 multi-trillion-dollar ones, if that's what happened, our funds of fund would crush it. And obviously there are going to be a lot of things that don't go to zero. So the bottom line to where are we going? I think we're in the greatest period of wealth creation the world's ever seen. And we just don't know, right, what are going to be the Facebooks and Googles and Amazons of Web3 yet, for sure. So I want to invest in everything. And the only thing I'm certain of is whatever it's going to be is different from when anybody thinks it's going to be.
Great. This has been great, Lou. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like it, leave a review, and subscribe. See you soon.